Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into the story of Helel. You might know him as Lucifer, maybe the morning star.
Right. And we're looking at sources like Ezekiel, Isaiah, Job, Revelation, these key texts.
Yeah, foundational stuff.
Our goal really is to understand his original amazing role first.
Okay.
Then this huge cosmic rebellion he started, what that challenge really meant for, everything, and how it all gets resolved in the end.
So it's the whole arc, the why behind it all.
Exactly.
All right, let's start at the beginning then. His creation. The sources, they really describe something incredible, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Ezekiel paints him as this covering cherub. Think like top-tier angelic being.
Right.
Perfect in wisdom, stunning in beauty, just peak creation.
And not just standing around looking good, right?
Yeah.
He had serious responsibilities.
Huge responsibilities, leading worship, guarding God's throne itself, almost like a cosmic high priest figure.
Yeah. And his purpose was tied to God's way of governing, based on love.
That's what the texts point to. His whole reason for being was to establish and sort of champion that love-based governance across all time, all space, a massive mandate.
Okay, so from that high point, how does it go wrong? That's the big question, isn't it?
It really is. The sources say his own heart got proud, like he was overcome by his own amazing qualities, the beauty, the wisdom.
It went to his head.
Basically, he started wanting God's place, wanted to be the one in charge of time and space, making the rules himself.
Demanding obedience to his commands, not God's.
Precisely. And there's this interesting parallel drawn to eating the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil.
Deciding for himself what's right and wrong, outside of God's framework.
Exactly, that self-determined authority. So those gifts, the wisdom, the beauty, they tragically twisted into something destructive.
So this internal thing, this pride, it then leads to an open challenge. He actually argued against God's commands.
Yeah, he essentially made the case that God's rules were impossible for created beings to follow, which, if true, would make God seem like a tyrant or worse, dishonest.
A cosmic liar or murderer, as some texts imply, that's a heavy accusation.
It is. And the sources counter this directly. They frame God as truth, as love, the very source code of existence, you could say.
Okay.
The argument is that free will needs the framework of love of those commandments. Otherwise, it just decays into violence and self-destruction.
So God allowing the rebellion wasn't approval?
Not at all, according to these texts. It was more like letting the experiment run to prove a point, tragically, to show everyone everywhere that Helel's way, ruled by force or self-interest, inevitably fails.
And that God's way, based on love, is the only path to real, lasting happiness and order.
That's the core argument presented.
Okay, so this ideological fight then spills over into actual conflict.
It does, directly. Revelation talks about a war in heaven. Helel's called the Great Red Dragon there.
Right, I remember that imagery.
And he didn't fight alone. He persuaded, it says, a third of the heavenly stars, other angels, to join him.
Wow, a third. That's significant.
Very. And the outcome? They lost. He and his followers were cast out of heaven down to earth.
So the conflict moves location, basically.
Exactly. And down here, he's then called the Ancient Serpent, the devil, Satan. Names we're probably more familiar with.
And he just continues his work. Deception, causing trouble.
That's the picture Job and Revelation paint. Spreading woe, stirring up conflict, continuing the rebellion by other means on earth. His influence is still a major factor in the turmoil we see.
But the story doesn't end there. The sources also talk about his ultimate end, right? It's not an eternal stalemate.
No, definitely not. They describe a process, actually, a progressive confinement.
How so?
First, there's mention of Hades, like the realm of the dead. Then after this long period, maybe 6,000 years, some interpret, he's bound in the abyss, a temporary holding place.
Okay, so containment.
Right. And then after a final future event, this 1,000-year kingdom period mentioned in Revelation.
Comes the final judgment.
Yes. His final eternal destruction in what's called the lake of fire. It's portrayed as the ultimate end, not just for him, but for all sin, all death, everything that opposes God's creation.
The complete removal of that destructive influence.
That's the finality described. It validates God's justice and love, ensuring creation can finally be completed without that shadow of sin and suffering hell brought in. A restoration of harmony.
It's quite a narrative arc. From this magnificent, perfect being, through pride, rebellion, cosmic war, and finally this ultimate defeat and removal. It really spans the whole of cosmic history as presented in these texts.
It really does. It covers creation, the fall, the conflict, and the ultimate restoration.
So as we wrap up, what's the big takeaway for you listening in?
Yeah, maybe think about this. What is this whole deep dive into Helel's rebellion, God's response? What does it suggest to you about these huge ideas? Choice, authority, love. Not just out there in the cosmos, but maybe how those principles play out even in small ways in our own lives. Something to consider.